More and more people push out commentary, short form, long form. We are bombarded with it. This makes it more important than ever to know how to navigate this landscape or be captured by lies and manipulations. One of the most important tools to fight these issues is to understand human nature, especially how certain characteristics have a power to sway us whether the content they are saying is true or not. The more the internet became part of our lives and the more normalized it became, the more people came out using it to give their opinions on a variety of topics. In the past, this was difficult. You had to have access to a TV station, radio, or you had to write letters or a book. Some people got on top of a stage speaking to the people listening, however, which was normally only reaching a few. After all, physical constraints made it impossible for too many people to be present. With the help of the internet and various tools built on top of it, this became easier and easier. People suddenly had the opportunity to reach thousands, if not millions of people in easy ways. Now we see it all, from long-form podcasts to short-form videos on social media, or text on a platform like X, formerly Twitter. In many ways, this is great, but it also leads to problems. First and foremost, with all the content coming at us in record speed, we don't know what is true or not. And it is very difficult to pass through the information because at any given time you get dozens of social media videos and text thrown at you and many podcasts and commentary being suggested for you to watch. Unless we understand the topic, we don't know what opinion has some truth to it. We don't know what is maybe some wrong idea, some wrong logical step of the commentator, or what is willfully wrong and manipulative or outright a lie. So we are in the situation where there are a lot of information and content coming at us about important topics that are also creating a lot of emotions, especially politics. Additionally, people are not just wrong by mistake. There are people that want to manipulate you feeling one way or another. And so we are in the situation where there's a lot of content, but the problem is we don't know what is right and what is wrong. One element that is often underestimated in this conversation is the power of and impact of human nature and how all of this is playing out. Especially how certain aspects of the content play a role that shouldn't necessarily play a role this high, because truth should be all that matters, right? Your logical thinking matters, how you connect certain pieces in the right way and then present them matters. But then we realize that it's not even half of the picture. In reality, what matters even more are elements that shouldn't rationally matter and yet they do. Dangerously so. For instance, confidence. In a paper from 1995 called The Confidence Heuristic, it showed that when people are unsure, they follow the more confident person. The paper created a scenario where there are two agents that predict something and give advice, then someone else must choose who they believe. It turns out that charisma and confidence moved more people to their side than logic and truth. So, crucial fact to consider, truth was less relevant than delivery. Even if the answers are wrong, people lean towards the confident speakers. Because of human nature, we generally assume that if someone speaks confidently, then they have done a lot of work or have a lot of experience in this area. And then the opinion is based on facts, on smart thinking, on interesting logical ideas with weight to them. Not so. In reality, that doesn't have to mean anything. In fact, it might even be a sign to be wary unless you understand the full logical chain of how they came to the conclusion. Smart people understand that there are nuances to situations, that there's more than meets the eye. And so they're often not speaking with complete confidence about a complex topic while giving educated guesses. They might not have considered everything. There might be some information they haven't truly either understood or worked through, so they are not 100% sure. And generally speaking, this is called intellectual humility, and it's a good thing. But isn't it interesting how the smart, educated people understand nuance, so they don't speak with the same confidence that, ironically, not as intelligent people or propagandists speak about because they don't understand the full depth, and yet human nature rewards them and in some ways punishes the former. That, of course, doesn't mean that speaking confidently is always a sign for low-quality thinking. We just need to be careful and question. Based on what information do you speak so confidently? Based on what level of thinking and data are you creating this content? Speaking confidently is one piece of the puzzle for you to be aware of. However, this is a piece of a bigger, more fundamental problem. We need to take a step back and look at an even more problematic aspect. And that is how disproportionately important it is to have charisma and speak well. Speak nicely, understand the way to phrase things, understand human nature and how to grab people's attention, how to tell stories. These tools are important and useful, and that is a fine part of the whole. The issue is that their piece of the success is way too high compared to other elements that are logically more important. Think about it. Whether you are charismatic or not shouldn't really matter in the assessment of the quality of your analysis of the situation, on how well you take the different information that you receive, how you think through them, and then synthesize them into an opinion that you're giving to your viewers. It shouldn't matter that you're charismatic, but it does. Not only that more people are going to watch you, but they will also believe you more than other people that are not as charismatic, even if, and this is very important, even if the other people are right. In a 2011 paper called Can Charisma Be Taught, it showed that training improved the style of presentation, like posture, gesture, tone, and rhetoric. This in turn improved the rating of the leaders. How is this related here? If truth was the most important thing, then the style should matter much, but rather the content. Yet, leaders are valued higher when they have a better delivery style. And as mentioned before, like charisma, they're speaking confidentially, speaking well, having a nice voice, or having a positive presence. This has a powerful weight to how you're being perceived. So the dilemma we are facing is that in the past, sure, there were other problems like a lot of gatekeeping. You had certain opinions that were allowed and others not. But what you also had were people and institutions that worked through certain content, that worked through data, that worked together, analyzed it, and then proceeded according to what they believed was right. Then they had to defend the arguments against other smart people, and finally they had to sit with the ideas for a while before they could publish them. Simply because there were only few fast delivery systems for opinions, if at all. And of course, this isn't the complete picture. Of course, there was manipulations back then, plenty so. Of course, there were people on radio stations that talked about all kinds of things that was wrong or false. And right now, there are quality people doing great work, doing better work than in the past. So all of this is true. The point is, it's more about the complete picture and how much of it was true in the past and now, where maybe 80% of the information was worked through in the slow, meticulous manner in the past. And now maybe it's only 30%. Now we are moving constantly through information. Now we have some emergency podcasts or emergency news, and then they're presented, which is good to some degree because you want to be updated. But then there are also many types of opinions being thrown at people. Are they right or not? You don't know. But if they're confident, if they have charisma, if they have built the audience before for other reasons, they are being believed and listened to. While others who understand the situation really well are not, because they're not as charismatic, because they haven't built the audience beforehand. A lot of what is going on right now has the truth as the lowest relevant point. Something to be put aside if it doesn't fit the agenda, if it does move people in the way they want them to. Many people, especially if they are not constantly critically thinking about what data they receive, are not questioning whether it is right or not. This is particularly true when they are busy with work and relationships. They listen to something, and if the information comes from someone who speaks well and speaks confidently, they probably believe it. Consider that these people believe the ones on the other side researched in good faith to come to their conclusion they speak so confidently about. Why would they be confident if they didn't look into it? Like I do my job as a teacher, as a truck driver, I assume that people that have their work as commentators do research and then think about it in good faith and then present their information. Unfortunately, there are a variety of reasons why they don't, from laziness to wanting to push an agenda. Most people understand it in theory, but when they listen to somebody they like, especially if it's their own party, people they share many beliefs with, then they quickly forget their critical thinking. Especially then do they rarely ask, is it even true? Where does this information come from? How do they work through it? When it comes to the current level of politics and future evaluations, we need to be aware and careful about how we listen to people. Ask yourself, do they know what they're talking about? And how do they know it? If we ignore it all for charisma and confidence, it can become dangerous quite quickly. In particular, because it becomes like an avalanche, not only for information, but whole careers of people and the ones that observe from the sidelines. So let me explain. It starts small, where some people win out with this way and get more and more viewers. Then it becomes over time an avalanche because people recognize, okay, all the work to research, all the work to learn, all the work to stay neutral or somewhat neutral and work through the data that we have and the information we have, and then synthesize an opinion. All of this seemingly doesn't matter as much as if your presentation is good. If you're witty, if you're clever, if you're funny, if you have charisma and speak well, all of these seem to matter a lot more in how people believe them. Keep in mind that a lot of these people, whether it is podcasters or commentators or social media opinion givers, right now, but also in the future, many of them don't solve for truth, they don't solve for reality. I repeat because it's so important. They don't have an agenda or belief or a certain weight on their shoulder to solve for the truth. Many of them solve for getting views, getting attention, getting money, pushing an agenda they think they might be true.